Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 24 of Let's Talk Soul to Soul. I am so excited for today's episode with Dustin Hogan. I welcome all of you wherever you're joining. I'm Annalisa, and I am here in Banff, Alberta, just awaiting the arrival of Dustin. And I invite family, please feel free to drop a comment. Let us know where you're coming in from. Oh, wow. That was so fun.
Nice.
You're a pro at this now, Dustin.
There you go. Good to see you.
So great to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining today, Dustin.
Thank you. Yeah, excited to be here. Looking forward to this.
Oh, there's just so many emotions being here with you. We spent many hours on Zoom
Yeah, we
not
spent the
long
whole
ago.
semester.
Yeah. And here we are. And I'm just welcoming our friends who are joining, including some of our roadies
Yeah. Nice. That's awesome.
who are jumping on and are so excited to be able to spend this time with you. I really invite everyone to get comfortable wherever you are, inside, outside. Grab a hot or cold drink. Yeah. And just settle yourself into this moment. Taking some nice deep breaths, getting cozy, because I sure am. So as our friends join, again, please drop a comment. You're welcome to use that comment box. You know, using social media is quite new to me. I'm on just rounding, maybe I've rounded first base on second, Dustin, but I would have to say my home runs have been these episodes of Let's Talk Soul to Soul. They have been an absolute joy.
That's awesome. Yeah, good opportunity to get out there, right?
Yes, and that's what this started as. So for those of you who don't know me, my journey led me here
Hey, Wendy.
because my soul needed a springboard for expression in new and different ways. And this was one way, because connections to self, to other are so vital in my life, but I believe for all of us in some way. And so creating and being part of creating sacred spaces where our nervous systems could just be at ease, to find peace, and whatever else was a mission placed on my heart. And that's why I'm here. And that is why I am full of gratitude, Dustin, that you are joining me.
Yeah, very happy to be here. Looking forward to diving into it.
Yeah, and taking a moment to let you know how you held the hand of light to me back in 2022 when I was a construction site, much like my home was at the time.
Yeah.
I was in that process of reconnecting, rebuilding, and you were instrumental, and many of our dear friends in our counseling group, simply by holding space. And that is a gift, Dustin, that you have given not just me, but many others. And so I want to honor and acknowledge you. And I invite everyone here to take a moment and think about, maybe that one person, or that maybe it's a few people who have been there, like these TSN turning point moments in our lives, right? Acknowledge that. And remember that you also have been that for others. And so today, Dustin, I mean, these conversations are really to shine the spotlight on the stories of everyday people who have journeyed, who have a mission, who have a lesson, a story, anything to share, something that's placed on their heart. And so one of my earlier guests, Lori, who is another person that's gone through a lot in her life, but has come out the other side and has started what's called the Merkaba Health Collective. And she has a vision for holistic health and wellness and has created this Canada-wide directory. So there are many of us who are finding new ways to get out there. And Lori is a sponsor, a partner of this program. So if there are wellness practitioners out there of all modalities, I will include information so that you can receive a discount on the Merkaba subscription. So I'll include that.
Cool.
But which is really amazing. And these relationships really, Dustin, just kind of sprung out of this desire for not just individual healing, but this collective healing and flourishing. And so a little background on you. I know there are some that already know who you are. I've got a Dustin is the best.
Thanks, Jess.
So many, you've touched so many lives, Dustin. And you, at a time when I was carrying what I felt like the weight of the world on my shoulders, you allowed me to put it down and to be vulnerable. Be me. Such a gift. And I will never forget our conversations, including from the hospitals, the emergency department, where I was wondering, can I even continue with this program, life coach, and care for my mom? There was always something special about you, Dustin. Your compassion came from a place of deep understanding and authenticity. Deep understanding and authenticity. I have in front of me this one of my first journals when I was researching roads, and I read about there were professionals with heart who worked there, and that stood out. That's you. You fully embodied those qualities, not only in your counseling, but you're just a rock star human being, Dustin. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. It's true, Dustin. And so fast forward to today, thanks to Instagram, I learned through Instagram of all things, when I'm that rookie, I learned of your mission, this beautiful sacred mission to break down the stigma around men seeking support for their mental and emotional health and well-being. As a men's mental health counselor and founder of a new brand, Therapy for Dudes, I was so excited when I saw these snippets of you and learned of this online platform which is focused on reshaping the conversation around men's mental health and positively impacting dudes around the world. I was like, but of course, Dustin, I had no real idea how deeply personal this was. On your own transformative journey that led you, a former DJ, world-class speaker, multi-passionate and talented entrepreneur, including of, I think, a company called The Grass Guy,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
That's the one.
It led you here.
Yeah.
And so, Dustin, It is an absolute honor and a joy to shine the spotlight on you.
Hmm.
And I'm going to leave our friends with this one quote that I just love. I got to share. Okay, Dustin, you said, through my journey, I realized I wasn't alone in my struggle. I realized countless men face similar battles in silence, and I felt a deep responsibility to help other men find purpose, direction, and support.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have, you
That
have,
hits.
and you are, men and women too, and so many. So this is where I invite you to share what's on your heart, my friend. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me here. And it's, I'm not going to say it's tough to hear everything that you just shared, but part of me, shining the spotlight on all of those very kind and thoughtful and positive things that you said. I'm just trying to let that land here in this moment. And yeah, I was just super looking forward to today's conversation. Obviously, we shared the space together in class for 3 months, and was just blown away at your perseverance, your resiliency through all of that. And you're right, we had many a conversation after class as you were navigating everything that you were navigating at that point. And what an honor it was. I still have like visual kind of flashes of some of those conversations, and really digging into things. So today to me is just an opportunity for us to go even deeper in a different way. So just excited to see where the convo leads us.
Yes. And Dustin, this quote that I had at the beginning of this journal just brings me to where I'm really feeling drawn with our conversation. You're never given a dream without also being given the power to make it true.
Mm.
And this dream of yours, this mission to really reach out to men, is one that I'd love for you to share how it was rooted somewhere, but now it's cultivated and blossomed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was really rooted in my own journey as a dude navigating my mental health, and at times struggling to show up in the world authentically and from a genuine standpoint, where certain times maybe I felt this pressure that I needed to show up in a certain way. I needed to be strong. I needed to be charismatic and confident. And sure, those are all parts of me, but there are days when those parts weren't there. And I felt like I was really just a shell of who I was, and yet still kind of soldiered through it. And you can only do that for so long. And there were certain breaking points or rock bottom moments, most definitely. And I've always been a proponent of my own counseling and therapy. Early on when I did that, though, I certainly wasn't telling anybody about it. I was almost doing it in secret, because of that shame that I felt, even though I wasn't necessarily being judged and had support around me. Still something that I felt. Call that society or internal beliefs, whatever it might be. It's how I felt. And it wasn't until really 2018, that's when I was first introduced to probably the fifth or sixth counselor or therapist I'd worked with at that point. But this man just created this space for me to be fully open, fully genuine, fully authentic, sharing all of the deepest, darkest secrets, and felt, it was like a 3-hour intake session. It was probably one of the longest counseling sessions I'd ever done, yet it was exactly what was needed, because now everything that I'd been holding in was now on the line. I had shared it with somebody, and it gave me that strength and that confidence to then share it with friends and families, the true, deep, dark struggles. And it's not that everything was okay from that day forward. It was
Mm-hmm.
just, that was that real first step into being able to truly share what was going on. So when I decided to go back to school
Yeah.
2020 and you know, get educated as a counselor, I knew right away that I wanted my entire practice to be focused in on men's mental health, based on just the journey that I had experienced as a dude. And what an honor it has been to be able to sit in this seat and hold that space for other guys as they navigate life's ups and downs, life's biggest challenges, you know, stress, anxiety, depression, you know, self-esteem issues, family, relationships, you name it. And it's not something that I take lightly, but it's
Yeah.
something I'm honored to do every single day. So with this new brand that I'm building, Therapy for Dudes, really that's the next step
Yeah.
in my process of growth as not only a counselor and as a coach, but as an entrepreneur as well, really aiming to serve more men throughout the world with the different offerings that we're putting together and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's been a journey to this point. I was saying to my parents a couple of weeks ago, you know, as I've been building this brand behind the scenes for almost the last 2 years now, and then finally
Mm-hmm.
launching it on May 1st, it feels like I've been scaling a mountain, but I realized I actually am just at the base camp of Mount Everest, and now the actual climb begins. So yeah, super excited about where we're at and where we're going.
Wow. And Dustin, you know, you point out, you know, the roots where, you know, that were planted and cultivated and nurtured in those moments where things kind of started to make sense, the path.
Mm-hmm.
And so many men struggle with that pressure, right? To have all the answers and to know where to go, the next step,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And for you, this sense of being vulnerable, can you, because you in sharing
Mm-hmm.
are doing just that. And why is that so important?
I mean, I don't only speak for myself here. Is
Yeah,
it's just it's allowed me to not have to carry the burden all of the time,
yeah,
and you know, being able to share things with friends, family, you know, colleagues. You know, we don't have to carry the load on our own. Yet, for the longest time, I felt like I needed to carry that load,
hmm,
and being that lone wolf, that was almost something that I was proud of for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that, but getting to those breaking points and realizing, okay, I can't carry this burden on my own. I've gotta take this leap of vulnerability, and it's a scary thing to do. And a fascinating thing happens is sometimes it's easier to share those deepest, darkest secrets with somebody that we don't know, like a
yeah,
counselor or a therapist, versus, you know, someone that we're super close to. I don't know why that is, but that just seems to be the case.
yeah,
And that was certainly the case for me. So taking that courageous step and discussing the like I said, the deepest, darkest secrets, the challenges that nobody knew about, and then building from there. And every conversation, every vulnerable conversation, I should say, is a step in that direction. And it takes courage. And once again, I'm always inspired by my clients when they show up courageously and share things. So yeah, you know, if I want to kind of be the change, I've got to lead in that way, lead by example, or model
mm.
that behavior.
Oh, wow. Dustin, as you said, if I want to be the change, I understand that I carried that, you know, be the change you wish to see in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to step back and this live true, live free that is one of my messages. Live true, live free. Change begins with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to look at myself and how I was interpreting and judging what was happening around me. And the, let's say, the superhero cape that I had put on, thinking that I have to save the
Mm-hmm.
world. But that's what it was. It was taking off the cape, the mask, whatever it was, stripping away to the essence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it can be a painful process. I know we have friends on today. One in particular that shared with me when she knew that you were on,
Mm.
how you were there during that painful process. And it is a painful process
Mm-hmm.
of detaching.
Yeah. And it's an ongoing process. I mean, to me,
Yeah,
it's never done. Like it's
yeah,
an everyday thing for me, you know?
yeah, yes. I love how you've said that, Dustin, because this is what I call the soulful adventure. There is really no beginning, no end. It's ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
And the more self-aware we are, the less a magnitude the hits have on us. That's not to say that we don't get leveled, but there's something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sit with you?
Totally. And I mean, to me, what you're talking about is resiliency, that ability to bounce back. And the more that I prioritize self-care, the more that I'm willing to be able to be open and vulnerable, the better equipped I am to be able to deal with these pieces, to deal with
Yeah.
life, right, as it comes up, and being able to bounce back. And rather than staying in that place of discomfort for a week or for hours or days, hopefully we can get it down to minutes and seconds, and then something just doesn't impact us anymore. But that's kind of how
Mhm.
I judge the progress that I'm making, is how quickly can I bounce back from these setbacks, because there's constant setbacks, you know, and we can look at it in one lens, and or we can reframe it and say, okay, this is a challenge to allow me to grow. I've got a little quote on my little whiteboard behind my computer here that says, I was not rejected, I was redirected. And to
Oh,
me, that's a way to just reframe those moments where I feel like I'm getting kicked down. I'm
yeah.
like, no, this is actually moving me in the direction that I need to go right now.
Mm. I was not rejected. I was redirected. Yeah. I'm repeating that for myself too, as it just lands and fills me with a deep knowing. And maybe you too, our friends who are listening, just reframing, that simple reframe can drastically change the course of our life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that thought. And so as we, Dustin, you've helped many, all different backgrounds, but this real interest and emphasis on men's mental health and the stigma around it. Share a little more about that piece, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the whole, stoics, stoicism equals strength, or being a stoic kind of silent male equals being strong. And sure, to a certain degree, but a lot of the time, and once again, I'll just speak for my journey, is
Mhm.
when I was trying to be that, strong, silent type, I was really only doing harm to myself, but then I realized it was harming others as well, because if I'm not in a good headspace or heart space, it impacts friends, family, and then from there it goes out. So it becomes this ripple effect. But the inverse is also correct, that if I'm my best version of myself, then
Yeah.
that's going to positively impact those that are around me. And then hopefully they're going to go out and positively impact those around them. And then it becomes this positive impact. So to me, really breaking down the stigma is around that piece of, like, silence doesn't equal strength.
Yeah.
Uh, to me, it's the other way around. Is as we open up and are more open and vulnerable, to me that shows strength. And it's
Mm.
not to say that I'm like need to be on the corner telling my feelings and thoughts to everybody that walks by, but that willingness to express more, at least for me, has allowed a lot of that weight to come off. So in the work that I do, that's really what it is. It's just first off, getting the guys to have these types of conversations at whatever level they're comfortable with, and then building from there. And to me, every conversation that happens from a one-on-one standpoint is breaking down that stigma. These types of conversations right now, breaking down that stigma, normalizing it, and really just making it more of the conversation, be it in therapy or just general conversations with your buddies. Like, it doesn't mean that every dude needs to be in counseling or therapy, but being willing to have more open conversations, to me, is a step in the right direction. And once again, going back to that whole ripple effect, I always think about impact and how much of an impact can I make in the world. And so by, supporting other dudes and being the best version of themselves, I trust that they're going to go out and positively impact other people. And that's what lights me up. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And that was one of the reasons that I love teaching so much, is because working with people like yourself that I know are going to go out into the world and impact hundreds, if not thousands of people, it just spreads it out in so many different ways.
Yeah. And Dustin, wow, we're all feeling that for sure. And it was clear it lit you up. It was clear in your presence, even energetically. And this energetic exchange, for me, I was very resistant to this kind of thing, because in person was my way for so long. I thought, how do you make these connections, but the human spirit, really, the soul to soul connections transcend all boundaries. And there's a beautiful quote by Parker J. Palmer that has stayed with me from the days that I did my master's in ed, which was like 20 some years ago. And he said, the human soul does not want to be fixed or saved. It simply wants to be seen, heard, and companioned exactly as it is. Yeah. That companionship. And so your offerings, they're not in person. Am I right? This is virtual.
Yeah. So my whole practice since day one has been virtual, and that was partly related to COVID. I'd initially expected to have an in-person practice, and then obviously for all of us, the world shifted significantly in 2020. So I decided to start my practice online, and I've just continued it that way since then, and will continue to. I mean, I'll have in-person offerings at some point, but I found as well, like so many of the men that I work with, especially here in Alberta, they're up north, right? And they're at camps, so they don't necessarily have access to in-person sessions. So from a convenience standpoint, it's actually worked out quite well. For people that are potentially resistant to that online space, so give it a shot, because as you just stated, right, there's so much deep connection and so much opportunity for connection, even through the screen, which blew me away as well, first as a student and then obviously as a counselor and as a coach. So yeah, everything right now is fully virtual. Just in the kind of middle stages right now for finishing our first online course, which will be a bit of a self-paced / community focused. So that'll be coming out in the next couple of months, and that's the first kind of new offering in addition to the one-on-one counseling work that I'm doing under the umbrella of Therapy for Dudes right now. And then beyond that, I've got my idea document on my computer is about a mile long at this point. So yeah.
That's incredible. And I want to congratulate you. And I'm sure all of us here are kudos to you for getting, you've taken these ideas and you've shown up. You always, I love how you emphasize that with us. Just show up, go for it. And you're going for it. And you've launched, like you said, in May. You've started with the one-on-one, and now this evolution and this building sounds so exciting.
It is, yeah. I mean, and I'm nervous and excited and all of the above. You know, this is a concept that I've had in my mind for the last 2 years. I mean,
Yeah,
I've had the Therapy for Dudes URL for over 2 years now. And so it takes time,
yeah.
but being willing to persevere and having that resilience and doing my best to trust in the process and have faith has been a real learning experience for me. But yeah, like I'm just so pumped.
I can imagine. I mean, it vibrates through you. You feel it. We feel it. And you talk about this community. I'm really intrigued by that, Dustin. I'm really intrigued. This community that you're building in this next phase.
Yeah, so there'll be, and we're kind of finalizing the details right now with the
Yeah.
team that I'm working with, but there'll be some self-paced learning, on mental health, on emotional health, really building that mental health toolbox, like I like to call it,
Mm.
of skills and strategies to be able to really move things forward. So that'll be on the self-paced side of things, but then the community aspect will be something along the lines of monthly master classes, like live master classes with the ability to connect with other men within the community, ongoing kind of weekly challenges, goal setting, accountability, which has been a huge part of my counseling practice thus far. So I want to make that a part of it as well. And it'll just give men the opportunity to engage as much or as little as they want, while also having access to the self-paced training and education pieces to really build up, and strengthen their mental health or emotional health. So yeah, it's like I said, we're kind of ironing out some of the details
Yeah.
right now, but it's moving in the right direction.
I love how this foundation, and we've got some heart here too. I love this foundation of learning, like learning and kind of unlearning
Hmm.
too.
Yeah, completely, because that is that foundation that really needs to move things forward.
Yeah. And those we can get so boxed in by belief systems.
Hmm.
And it's always been this way, or I've always needed to show up this way. How do you encourage and invite men especially to look at those beliefs differently?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it's okay. What are the results that you're having right now in the
Mm.
moment? As dudes, we're very result focused and
Yeah.
driven. Not to say that women aren't, but as men, generally speaking. So are the results that you're having right now aligned with what you want or who you want to be? And if they aren't, well, then we can reverse engineer the process. What are the beliefs that are driving the way that you think, the way that you feel, and ultimately the behaviors and actions? And we can just reverse engineer the process to determine what those negative or limiting beliefs are. And although we can't change a belief, we can change the way that we think, we can change the way that we behave, and ultimately those go down the line and shift those beliefs. One of the tools that I share with pretty much all of my clients is, the beliefs iceberg, where the tip of the iceberg is our actions or behaviors, which is the smallest part, but that's what we can see. Below that, we've got our feelings, then our thoughts, but then deep below the surface, the biggest piece of the iceberg, that's the beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's driving all of that. So yeah, being able to break those down, even a belief like I'm not good enough. I mean, that shows up probably 95% of the time with clients. So, what are the thoughts that are the result of those beliefs? And then we can work to shift those thoughts. What are the feelings that result from those thoughts? Let's work with those. And then ultimately, what behaviors are the results of those thoughts and feelings? And then how do we shift those behaviors and actions, which, like I said, end up actually rewriting those beliefs? And I'm oversimplifying it right now, but
Yeah.
that's the work
Yeah.
right there.
Yes. Yes. And that is the work. That is in general the work when we're looking at this process of transforming and taking ownership over the one thing we can in our lives, our thoughts.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, and it's
work.
it's it's easier said than done. However, it
Yeah.
is it is it is possible.
Yes, it is possible. Hold on to that thought, my friend. Sometimes we just need someone who's going to companion us, who's going to hold the hand of light, who's going to reassure us, you got this. Not going to hand the answer over to you or follow this path. This is the answer, but it's simply going to hold that space, right? Because it is possible. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here. And perhaps those of you who are with us energetically, you're here. I mean, thank you for being here. I commend you. I really do. I celebrate you for joining us today. Or if you're watching this recording, which I'll provide, Dustin, you'll be able to share as well. You showed up for a reason, right? There's a belief within you of possibility. And sparking possibilities is what we can do for each other simply by being in each other's presence like this. That's, Dustin, when we think about why we're here, our missions and all this kind of thing, it can get so complicated, but yet there is simplicity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There can be. Yeah. And so these tools that you talk about, they help to simplify.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they create some structure and some direction, and it's not every tool that I share with every client is going to be a perfect fit. Yet the idea is we build up that toolbox and have a multitude of tools that, depending on the situation, whatever it calls for, reaching for that tool. It could be something along the emotional side of things, like the feelings wheel is a real common one that I like to share with clients. Obviously, deeper dives into the belief side of things, working with distorted patterns of thinking. So these are all tools that we start building up that toolbox. And when the client needs to reach for them, at least they've got some selection, some variety. And not every tool is going to be a perfect fit given the situation, right? Like I often say, a hammer is a great tool, but I don't use it to mop the floor, right? I've got another tool for that. So it's the same thing with any of these coaching or counseling based, practices and strategies and tools. It's like, okay, what's going to work here may not work there, and that's okay. So just find what fits for you and works for you.
Yes. And I'm curious, Dustin, do you find working with men that there are tools or approaches that resonate?
Yeah, for sure. And not all of them do, but like I said, the feelings wheel, which basically looks like a lollipop with all these bright colors, and it's got all of the different feelings on it. Oftentimes it's one of the very first tools I share with clients. And the only part of the exercise is I want you a couple of times a day, every single day, to pull out the wheel and identify what you're feeling. We're not trying to change it. We're not even trying to get to the bottom of it just yet. Simply identify it. And what that does is it gives us back some power and control over what we're feeling, because now we've named it. And, a past student, that's not my line, but it's a brilliant line. You've got to name it to tame it.
Yes.
And right, I absolutely love that line. If we're not giving a name to what it is that we're feeling, how are we going to be able to deal with it? So many of the guys that I share that with will often maybe laugh and like, oh man, this looks cheesy or this looks hokey. And then they'll try it for a week and see how impactful it actually is to simply just give a name to what it is that we're feeling. And even for myself, multiple times throughout the day, I'm still naming out loud what it is that I'm feeling. And it blows my mind that every single time that I do that, I'm always feeling multiple things at the same time. They're not just one thing that I'm feeling, it's multiple. And had I not taken the time to name it, I wouldn't have known that. gives me back that control and just that understanding. Is it a cure-all? By no means, but it's enough to just gain back some presence of mind to then be able to move forward and make a decision that's more aligned with who I am and where I want to go, not this thing or these things that I'm feeling in the moment. So simple feelings wheel, even just a quick Google search, a feelings wheel or emotions wheel, there's hundreds out there. So just find one that resonates and start using it.
Yes. And Dustin, you know, as you're saying this, I see my feelings wheel, and that was introduced in our coaching, but I had heard of it previously also, but now it's something I'm using in my work with caregivers and the name it to tame it. Because a lot of what you're speaking of too, it applies to so many situations. So for example, many who are dealing with the guilt, and men deal with those feelings too, right? Not being able to provide enough, or so for caregivers, it might be not being able to support that loved one. Enough, I'm not enough. And the anger, it might show as anger, but they're deeper, that primary emotion. And then there's, but what is really at the root of that expression of anger or that outburst, whatever it was. And like you say, it really helps to reclaim a sense of control, of power, of knowing thyself from the inside out.
Yeah, I love that choice of words, reclaim. That's exactly what it feels like I'm doing in that moment, is just reclaiming your power, essentially.
Yeah. And often it's your power and your dignity, because those outward expressions are not who you truly are. And sadly, we can focus on those things, right? And they're what that has either, that leaves that impression on other people.
Yeah. What I love in the chat there, Wendy said she's going to identify her feelings out loud. I'm walking through the house, Wendy, out loud all day, every day, doing that. And, certainly not doing that walking down the street, but it's hugely beneficial to just be able to name out loud what's actually going on.
Yes. And from a place of compassion and non-judgment. We can be so hard, like, oh, I'll never get this right. Like, here I am, I blew my top again. This is one of my greatest lessons, I think, and I'm still learning it every day, is to be compassionate to myself and not judging. When I do have these reactions that I'm not proud of, reclaiming and stepping into observer mode, which isn't easy to do, but possible.
For sure. Something worth working toward.
And so as you also spoke about, I'm thinking of this beautiful journey with your clients one-on-one. You spoke about accountability. How does that fit in with your work and then beyond, when your clients go out there and back into their daily lives?
Yeah, I really like to think of both action and accountability as the foundation that everything, all of the work we do, sits on. And from an accountability standpoint, whether I'm meeting clients weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, whatever it might be, they know that I'm going to check in with them on, the previous session's action items or homework, however we want to call it. So, putting a bit of pressure in a positive way of, hey, I'm gonna check in with you on this. I'm gonna ask you about that. It's not that it's a grade, you're getting a score or anything like that, but just checking in. How did that go? Were there any challenges? What went well? What didn't go well? How do you see yourself? That's a question I often ask. How do you see yourself using this tool moving forward?
Yeah.
So they can really integrate it at a very, very deep level. So that constant accountability check-in is a big piece. Some clients will even request that, hey, can I shoot you an email every week and give you an update of the things that I'm working on? Of course, yeah, of course, man. Like go for it. I'm always open to those kinds of things. It's not as if they're sending me a novel or anything. So if that's going to help with accountability, but then beyond that, I always ask, who in your life can help you keep you accountable? Is it friends? Is it family? Is it a partner? Is it a business associate? Whomever? Is there somebody else other than me that can hold your feet to the fire, so to speak? And then also at that personal accountability level, is what can we do, or what can you do to keep yourself more accountable? And I know myself, one of the ways that I keep myself accountable is I often am a very reward based. So if I accomplish XYZ, I'll attach rewards to it. That's more of an extrinsic motivation. And then there's the intrinsic motivation, which is just the joy of getting it done for getting it done's sake. So all of these different layers of accountability, to me, is the best accountability system possible, because we're not just relying on one source. I'm not the only source of accountability for the clients. There's, friends or family or partners, or like I said, whomever, and using all of these pieces to move things forward, because without that, it's harder to make progress. Like I go to the gym regularly, but I work with a trainer because my trainer keeps me accountable. I know I need to check in with him every week. And if something has fallen off, he's going to ask me about that, and gently, but assertively call me out or challenge me if needed. And it's the same thing with my clients, and I love that aspect of it. So accountability is one of the most foundational pillars that all of this work is standing on.
Yes. And this vision of, a trainer, I love that comparison. That really makes sense. There are times in our lives in particular that we may need that. And maybe you would need that always, but there are those times when having that person checking in, questioning, challenging you, because they believe in you. They come from a place of belief. They're not out to harm or hurt or to minimize or diminish. And it's that relationship, right? That really can help you move further along in your journey and out of that stuck place, or that place where you got the heaviest backpack you don't need to be carrying up that mountain. And so something really coming to mind I want to ask you, Dustin. And it comes from, there may be women out there who are listening, and we see, and I speak for myself too, as a wife, as a sister, as having many, many male friends. How, for women who are saying, it would be so awesome if my husband, if my brother, if my friend just talk to Dustin. Any thoughts on navigating that from our perspective?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. And quite often when a guy reaches out to me, sometimes they'll say, hey, my wife actually found your site and shared it with me, and my sister shared this with me, or I'm chatting with my girlfriend about it. So encouraging is definitely the piece, and gently challenging and encouraging them to move in that direction, whether it's speaking to me or somebody else. Not pressuring, but certainly that encouraging piece. Because for a lot of guys, there's a misconception of what counseling and therapy actually is. Is this guy gonna talk to me about everything from my past, and is he going to make me worse before it makes me better? So there are a lot of those misconceptions. So for those of you that do have men in your life that you want to support, is do just that, support and encourage. And sometimes maybe that means finding some resources and gently putting it in front of them a few times until they actually take that action. Because a lot of guys have maybe been sniffing me out for six months, 12 months, and then finally taking that step. So it does take time. So for those of you that do have men in your life, patience is also an important piece of the puzzle as well. Encouraging them to take that step, but also being patient and recognizing that they're most likely going to do it on their own timeline. And sometimes that timeline may not align with yours, and that's okay, but continuing to encourage.
Mm. Yeah, I feel all of that, what you're saying. And I'm sure there are many women out there who do as well. We have a comment from one of our listeners here, a soul sister, who says more men stepping up to help us heal as a collective. More men stepping up to help us heal as a collective. And stepping up in maybe not the traditional sense of stepping up as we spoke of earlier. Vulnerability is strength.
Mm-hmm.
How would you respond to that, Dustin?
Yeah, I would agree. And like I said, every day, every conversation that I have, every guy that reaches out, I do my best to acknowledge them for taking that step, because often just booking that initial discovery call, having that first 15-minute conversation, there's so much weight attached to it of something that maybe they've been thinking about this for months, if not years. So any step in that in the direction of being open and vulnerable, to me, needs to be celebrated and acknowledged. Not that we're throwing a parade by any means, but just acknowledging that, because that's often the hardest piece. And then from there, that whole ripple effect takes shape. So yeah, and it's going to look different for every man out there, but acknowledging effort is often one of the most important characteristics.
Yeah. I'm sitting with this, Dustin, because I see examples in my own life where I didn't acknowledge, and the result of that, and then when I have. Yeah. And again, it points to there are differences in the way we, in our needs as men and women, and our ways of expression. But it's this coming together that we're really interested in, right? And building relationships that start with understanding self, true self, and unlocking. Yeah. And we have another beautiful comment from Lori, who is actually the founder of the Merkaba Health Collective. Such a beautiful offering for our men. Together we rise. That's what I see and feel in the presence of people like you and this community that we're building, that we're creating. This new way forward. This new way forward. It's exciting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, the fact that we're connecting here in the afternoon, and you're down the road in Banff, I'm here in Calgary, and we've got people visiting from all over. So community can look, it can show up in different ways, and I think embracing that is key.
Yeah. And so, Dustin, I'm very mindful. I could talk to you all day, and I'm just looking at. I'm just scanning comments, and so many others have joined while we were talking. I just want to really acknowledge everyone who has jumped on. And if there are any questions that had come up that you wanted to just drop in the chat box, I'm sorry that if I've missed them, but you're welcome to do that. And while that's happening, Dustin, I'm sure many are curious as to how to connect with you. You know, what next?
For
Can you
sure.
share a little bit, please?
Of course. So on Instagram here, you can follow my main account at I am Dustin Hogan, or the new Therapy for Dudes account, which is at Therapy for Dudes. Follow both. That would be awesome. Connect there with both. And then on the web, therapyfordudes.com. That is the newly launched website. And like I said, super excited about that and everything that's getting built behind the scenes right now. We've got the one-on-one counseling, which is the main offering at this point, building out this course, this community, which will be launching in the next couple of months. So could not be more excited about that. Got some pretty incredible blog content as well. You know, the email newsletter, the Mental Health Monday email newsletter. So lots to connect with on therapyfordudes.com. So yeah, just connect, reach out, shoot me a message. Always happy to chat.
And I will include this again in the write-up, all of these links. Dustin, so people can also just sign up to receive your newsletter as well. And what if it's say a wife or a girlfriend that's saying, I really want to stay updated? Doesn't matter.
Sign up. Yeah, no, there's no restrictions there. Anybody and everybody is welcome. So
awesome. That's awesome. And so people will also be updated on these new offerings, this community, this expansion that's happening simply by staying connected with you.
Yes, most definitely. There'll be, launch content for the course when it comes out here on Instagram. For those that are on the newsletter list, there's a wait list as well. So
right.
Yeah, there's a million and one ways to stay connected and to stay updated as all of this stuff gets built and, goes live in the world.
Wow, Dustin. Dustin. It's just kind of surreal that we're here, but so beautiful.
Yeah.
And as we circle back here to this place where our relationship began, it's like a whole new chapter now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And I'm so happy to see what you're doing and what you're doing in the world and building in the world as well. And yeah, what an honor it was to, have you in my space as a student and, now as a friend beyond this journey. So it's exciting.
Yeah. And Dustin, I want you to know we've got Wendy, so happy for you. And there's so many of us that I know would express that. And I couldn't do justice to the thanks, even though I know that the spotlight's been on you for this time. But it comes with deep, deep gratitude. You are truly a gift to humanity, to the men and women, to all. Yes, yes. I'm sure your parents are very proud. I know you have a very special relationship with them.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty incredible people.
And feeling so much hope for our men. Feeling so much hope for our men.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dustin, for being a beacon of light for all of us from dear Maureen.
Thanks, Maureen. Feeling the emotion of all of this on a Monday afternoon.
Yeah. You're meant to shine, and you are, and you're inspiring us. You're helping us light the way so that we can all go out and step into whatever it is in our lives. Whatever it is, we're not alone. We're not alone. And so I encourage you, my friends, soul family, brothers, sisters, to share this with someone you know, a special dude in your life who may need to hear this message at some point in their lives from that place of patience, love, unconditional, positive regard, and belief. And with that, all things are possible. Yeah. Dustin, do you have any thoughts, anything you want to add before I wrap this up, my friend?
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on. I was looking forward to it all weekend, looking forward to it this morning. And thank you, everybody that's joined and participated and added your voice and comments and love into the space here. It means a lot. And as I said earlier, just so honored to be able to do this work at a very deep level. So thank you, Annalisa. So much love and respect for you. And yeah, just super grateful to be here.
And Dustin, I have to point out Tones, who's here, my dad, right?
I saw that.
Port side. Yeah. And he's so proud of you too for that arm that you put around me. Yeah. And we can do that for each other. We are doing that for each other. Forget about can. We are. This is it. This is it. This is the energy of living true, of living free, of living our most authentic selves and being the light in the world. So let's bring it. Dustin, I was going to have a song lined up like you would have, but I feel like we can all dance our way off this call today. And I will share all of the links so that others can stay connected. And perhaps we'll have another conversation at a later date.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Many blessings. Now go out there and shine.
See ya.
Ciao, my friends.
Bye.
Thank you.